Hi, it's me again. Today I was doing some service calls and driving around. David.
Call from Anglo David.
Okay, here we go again. Yeah, as I was driving around today doing some service calls, I started I could hear the voices of people that were desperately trying to search for God. And it was weird because I could hear the voices, I could see their faces. And they sounded so lost. I could see people praying rosary. I could see people sitting in churches praying. And you could just hear their thoughts of, I'm doing this. I'm doing this for God. I'm doing this for Jesus. Why isn't this, why do I feel so empty still? And I started realizing the fact that a lot of stuff that was running through my mind was these people were they were going through the motions. They were really trying, but they were just going through the motions. They weren't seeking with their heart. And I realized it's not so much the churches per se. Like I said before, I grew up a good Catholic boy. But the same thing, I felt empty, that there was something missing. I never really realized the fact that until you truly start searching, and to throw away all the traditions, all the you must do, you have to do, and just start seeking on your own, the fact that it's hard to find. It's really hard to find them. And it's terrible because I could hear their questioning. I could hear them. I could hear the anger in their voices, and just the despair of being lost. And like I said, it's just because the fact that they're so stuck in tradition, they can't get away from it. They were taught, you must pray this way, you must sing this way, you must read this, you must do that. You have to sometimes reach out on your own. And that's when you finally start, being able to start finding them. And when he starts talking back to you. I'm not going to tell people to run out of churches, to get away from the church or whatever else. Because in a way, if those that are in the churches that are desperately seeking, if they can actually start searching on their own and actually finding the faith, finally getting that one-on-one, maybe that's what's actually lacking. Maybe that's what's needed in the churches, is for those that are truly seeking God, instead of just going through the motions. Maybe if they can somehow finally break through that, and they can start passing it on to others, that their friends and family that go to possibly those churches or whatever else. Maybe that's what's missing. Maybe we need to have the revolution from inside the churches, instead of just abandoning them and leaving them go. Maybe it's up to us to finally bring the Spirit back into the church. Instead of having instead of just going through the motions. Read today's psalm is going to be, yeah, it's great. But the only thing I can say is if you're going to a church, whether it be Catholic, Baptist, Presbyterian, I don't care. Whatever it is. If you feel as if church is a waste of time for you, and that God still doesn't listen to you, God's not paying attention to you, it's time to forget everything you've learned and start talking to God. Start talking to Jesus. No one says that there's a formula, a magic formula for praying that He's going to answer you. Thank Him for things He's done. Try to remember throughout the day and constantly thank Him. Because frankly, I don't know what to do for or give to somebody who has given everything, who has made everything. I don't know. And even, I feel completely lost at times because I don't know. I feel as if, I spend my day thanking the Lord constantly for everything He's done for me and for my family and in my life. And it's like it never seems to be enough. And I don't know what else to do. But all I know is for some reason, throughout my entire life, with me searching and doing everything, it's just the fact that now, after all these years, I've finally, gotten to almost where I want to be. I guess there's a point where you can never have enough. But my biggest change has been over the last couple of years, where I finally realized what in the world I've been doing wrong all these years. I said, back to praying and you must do the, now I lay me down to sleep, or whatever. Even with me, it's not so much of doing that. There's times where I sit there and I'll be driving and people probably think I'm crazy. So I'm driving, but I'll sit there, I'll start talking out loud. I'll have a conversation, maybe a one-sided conversation, but I'm actually having a conversation with God. I will sit there and say, well, hi, how have you been today? You doing okay? The stress of the world, hopefully isn't too bad for you. Thanks last night for that great dinner. That was just marvelous. I really appreciate that. Thank you for giving me peace for this day, because I know it was really stressful. But for me, it seems to work for me. And there's times where I have serious prayer where I sit down and thank the Lord with all my heart. But He listens. He wants to hear your heart. Whether you're in a church or not, it doesn't matter. Talk to Him, thank Him. You'll be amazed that eventually He'll actually start talking back to you. I'm amazed at the fact that He actually listens to me. Most people that I tell that, it's funny because this is what I asked from God to do for me or do for somebody else, and that's what happens. And people will feel like, no, it just happened to be a fluke, and it just happened to be out that way. I don't think so. It's way too much. It's happened way too many times for it to be coincidence. Don't be sitting there thinking, oh yeah, I'll ask God for $1 million and I'll be rich, and gee, God, can you heal my family for me? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Maybe it's not part of his plan. I know it's things that nobody wants to hear, but he does have a rhyme, he does have a reason. We may not understand it, but he does. All I can say for those of you who feel you're missing something, don't give up, don't give in. You know, break outside the mold. You know, talk to Jesus, talk to God as if they were your best friend. Get on your hands and knees and pray for your face to the ground. And thank Him for everything you have if that's what you feel. But just don't give up. Just keep going, and eventually, one day, you'll realize He's listening to you. You start noticing little things in your life that are changing. I mean, I was a terrible person at a point in time in my life. That I pray to God that I'm hoping that page, that chapter of my life is erased out of the book. But yeah, just don't give up. Don't give in. And like I said, maybe that's what needs to happen to the churches. These people that are lost sitting in the churches. Maybe the best thing isn't for them to actually leave the church, but to start searching in their own. And if they're able to actually finally find that connection, pass it on to their neighbors that go to that church, or other people that they're friends with in that church. Pass it on to them. Maybe they'll catch on, and you know, they'll start finally starting to find that joy and that spirit. And they'll keep passing it on. And maybe just hopefully that joy will spread throughout the entire church and completely change the way the church was, and everyone else will start feeling it. Well, this has just been some semi-ramblings, but it's something I felt I had to put out. Thank you for watching, and God bless.